Hello Year 11, welcome to this video for your mock revision. In this video I'm going to go through descriptive writing, particularly for paper 1 question 5, and I'm going to show you how to get the marks on the mark scheme. Ready? Let's go. First thing you will see on the question paper is the task. Write a description based on this picture, and you should also be reminded of the marks that you get for this question. 24 marks for assessment objective 5 and 16 marks for assessment objective 6. You will then look at your picture. What will the picture be? Here's an example. There's a picture taken by a very famous photographer called Richard Sunderland. The last holiday we had. So you look at that picture. Sitting there in the exam hall, all sorts of things pop into your head. What pops into your head? Well, that's a rubbish picture. Well, I won't tell my husband that. I haven't got a clue how to start. What on earth am I going to write about that? Do I write a story? Nothing like the pictures we've done in class. Unhappy face. Miss, that's all your fault. What do? Do I analyse a picture? Am I writing P paragraphs? Don't know what to do. What do? Just take some deep breaths. You won't have any of those questions in your head because you will have watched this video and you will know exactly what to do. Right, Year 11? So, think first of all, what is that examiner looking for? They will be reading hundreds of these descriptions. They become robots. They look for very specific things. You need to make sure you are making them obvious to them because they will read these descriptions over and over again. Believe me, I know, I've done it. So the first assessment objective, content and organisation. This is what it says to the examiner. Very boring, but it says, communicate clearly, effectively and imaginatively, selecting and adapting tone, style and register for different forms, purposes and audiences. Organise information and ideas using structural and grammatical features to support coherence and cohesion of texts. Easy, right? No, probably doesn't mean anything to you. What does that mean in your speak? Well, you need to write what you're supposed to do. You need to produce a piece of descriptive writing. I have seen pupils produce P paragraphs on the picture. They do not get NAA or 5 marks. Okay? Descriptive writing. You need to use techniques imaginatively. We don't want voluptuous velociraptors. We don't want like a snake slithering in the grass. They are not imaginative techniques. We want to use vocabulary ambitiously. We don't want sad or happy or dark or light. That's not very ambitious. You need to structure your writing. You need to work out before you start where you're going to begin, where you're going to go, and where you're going to end. You may have done question 3 before you start this. You may not have, but you will have revised structure techniques. You're going to use them in your writing. You are going to express some imaginative ideas. You need to have an imagination. Okay, sorry guys if you don't have one, but you're going to have one. It's all about your ideas. What can you come up with? They don't have to be in the picture. You can include some things that aren't in the picture. I probably wouldn't put, I don't know, aliens in the picture when we look at the picture that I bring up. Well, you've seen it. So, you know, make it realistic, but you can include things that aren't in there, but, you know, try and stick to something that makes sense. And finally, make your examiner really happy and paragraph. It is really easy to paragraph and it is worth quite a few marks. I could retire a rich woman if I had £1 for every time a student did not paragraph. Okay, what's next? AO6. Oh, that is worth 24 marks. Okay, so remember, those things gain you a maximum of 24 marks, and none of those things are things that you can't do. AO6 then, technical accuracy. Examiner speak. Students must use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures for clarity, purpose and effect, with accurate spelling and punctuation. Doesn't sound too tricky to me. Maximum of 16 marks. What does it mean? All your sentences must have capitals at the beginning and some piece of punctuation at the end at all times. I've not said a full stop because it might be an exclamation mark, it might be a question, it might be an ellipsis. Okay, so I've not specified a full stop, but there should be a capital letter at the start and some piece of punctuation at the end. You need to use a range of sentences, and I will clarify and explain what that is later on. You need to use a range of punctuation. So this is not including full stops, and it means a minimum of 3 types of punctuation. There are already on the screen 4 types of punctuation. There is a colon, there is a bracket, there is a question mark, and there is a comma. Okay, so just look at what we've got here. We've got a colon, we've got a question mark, we've got a comma, and we have brackets. So a range of punctuation, minimum of 3. That doesn't mean using a question 3 times. That means using 3 different types of punctuation. And as an examiner, I have gone through pieces of writing and counted how many types of punctuation they've used. Okay, so range means a minimum of 3. Standard English, not slang. So we don't want slang words. You need to make sure you are writing clearly. And use a range of ambitious vocabulary. We've already had our ambitious vocabulary in AO5. It also counts in AO6. So vocabulary is really important. Use a range of it. Range? 3. Might be a good idea for you to now start building up 3 words that are ambitious, that you can spell right and you can use in each piece of writing you use. Because look what's next. Spell all words, including most ambitious words, accurately. So you get vocabulary mark in AO5, you get a vocabulary mark in AO6, and you get a mark for spelling your ambitious vocabulary in AO6. So if you know some ambitious vocabulary that you can spell right, you are picking up a lot of marks for that. Okay, so those are the things that the examiner is looking for. How do you put them together? Well, let's have a look. First of all, you need to plan your ideas. So you look at your picture. You will remember this from the lockdown lessons. So you need to think, right, which bits of the picture am I going to use? Okay, how am I going to use a picture to structure my writing? When we've got to use structure, we've got to paragraph. So start off by thinking, right, panoramic description, sky weather. Now this picture is not very useful because we can't see the sky. Okay, it says here, and you'll have this in your book probably, that you should use pathetic fallacy, a wide view of the sky or weather of some sort. It sets the tone and atmosphere for your piece. Well, this picture doesn't help miss, does it? They gave us a picture without the sky in. I'll show you how to cross that bridge in the next slide. Next, what do? You drop in. Where in your picture are you going to choose to start? It could be a person, a building, a location. Choose somewhere in your picture to start your description. Then you zoom in. Pick something small to describe in detail. Over a number of sentences, describe that one object in detail, building up a poignant image of it. Remember in the lockdown lessons, we talked about poignancy, trying to get some emotional reaction from someone about something. Then what do? We zoom out. We go to somewhere else in the picture. We think of something else to focus on. You could shift tone here or build up to a climax. And then we think about the ending. Do we do a cyclical structure? Do we go back to something at the start? Do we reference something at the start? Do we go back to the weather? Do we repeat it or change some small part of it for effect? One sentence paragraph you could use there at the end. Okay, so how do we plan those then? Well, let's have a look. If you do all those, of course, don't forget that you structure your writing and you use paragraphs. So you take your picture in your exam booklet. Before you start writing, you plan. Right, where am I going to describe the weather first of all? Well, I can't see the sky in this picture. I could imagine that I can see the sky. But in this picture, I can see just in the background, there's a patch of sunshine and some shadows. All right, so I can tell it's a really hot sunny day. I also know that because I was there when the picture was taken. It was in Mallorca in August and it was really hot. So I'm just going to write down, I'm going to label the picture in my exam paper. Right, it's bright sun. I might describe a heat haze, there's some shadows. That tarmac might be sizzling. Using my imagination. The tarmac isn't sizzling in the picture. It doesn't matter. What am I going to describe in my writing? Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop in to that stall. Okay, what am I going to describe? Well, the food. That's what I'm going to describe. You might describe something different. Sausages, cheeses, string, piles of meat toppling over, scenes of excess, senses, colours, smells. I'm going to do all that. Right? I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Then where am I going to go? What's next? It's zooming in. What am I going to zoom in on? Those bits, those Spanish hams, the trotters, the pig's hoofs, maybe a bit of a dark turn, carcass, maybe the girl looking at them. Yeah, she's thinking, God, don't fancy that. I imagine some of you might turn your nose up at those. I quite like them personally. There you go. Then where I'm going to zoom out, I'm going to go to someone different. Customers maybe, look at those other people. They maybe jostle and bustle in the heat. Something about masks maybe. I quite like that man sharpening the knives on the other side of the picture. And then where I'm going to go to some cyclical structure at the top. I'm going to think about describing the sun beating down on the canopy because I started with the sun, so I'm going to end with the sun. I'm going to maybe think about those leaves casting a shadow. Maybe they're dancing. I don't know. I'm not committing myself here. I'm just thinking. I'm just getting my thoughts going. There might be some things on my plan that I don't use, and that's absolutely fine. I'm just jotting some ideas down, and I've just got a thought process and I've got a journey through the picture. That did not take me long when I did that. It literally took me 3 minutes just to think, where am I going? What am I going to describe? Okay? Because if you don't do that, you've not got a structure. I've not organised my ideas. And for each one of those bits, I will use a different paragraph. I might even use different paragraphs within them, but I've now planned at least 5 paragraphs. Immediately I've got my paragraph marks. Okay, what next? Okay, so what's next after you've planned your journey through the picture? Vamps app, of course. So you need to remember the techniques that you need to use in your writing when you are describing each section of your picture. So you need to remember the first 2 most important ones are verbs and adjectives. I'm not going to go through what each one is because don't forget there is a separate video on Vamps app on the language playlist, and there'll be a link in the top corner here just to remind you if you need to go back and watch that video. Okay, so other techniques that you can remember you need to use are metaphor and personification. Similarly, alliteration and pathetic fallacy. And if you use those, don't forget it's not about a tick list. It's about trying to use them in and amongst your writing. It's not about using all of them lots of times. The ones that you should try and use most, of course, are verbs and adjectives, but try and use them carefully. Try and think which ones fit best. Don't just use the ones that first come into your head. It's about crafting them, and it's better to use fewer and use better ones. Okay, so just think carefully before you use them. Choose the ones that fit your writing best. Why use VampSap? Is Miss just making random acronyms up? No, of course not. First of all, what marks do you get from VampSap? Using techniques imaginatively, using vocabulary ambitiously. They're all descriptive techniques, and it shows that you are being imaginative with your ideas. AO6, ambitious words, remember, and using a range of ambitious vocabulary. Look at all those places you are hitting the mark scheme by using VampSap. Okay, so far we've got your structure with your panoramic view, you drop in, you zoom in, you shift out, your cyclical structure. Then you think VampSap. There's one final thing you do next. Sentence upgrades. What types of sentences are you going to use? Here's an example that I've used quite a few times in many of my classes. In the top corner you've got the girl began to cry, and all the other boxes are different ways that you can change that simple sentence. You can change it to a simile start, you can change it to a triple noun colon start, triple adjective colon start, adverb comma start, verb beginning start, brackets although, it isn't it is, and a so-so start. Now what I don't recommend is that you try and include every one of those in your writing, because first of all they're quite hard to remember all of them. You've already got a lot to remember. Okay, so it might be that you prefer some of these to others. Okay, you've already got a simile in your VampSap, so why don't you try and remember just to start your sentence with the simile. Okay, you might like starting with adverbs, verbs in VampSap, so put your verbs at the beginning. Okay, so just try and remember some of these to include in your writing. Why? Why do we keep going on about sentence upgrades? Why are they important? Well, here you go. There's 5 places where you are hitting the mark scheme. You're structuring your writing, not on a big scale, but on a small scale, because you are structuring your sentences. Okay, you are using a range of punctuation. Look what you've got there. You've got a comma, you've got brackets, and you've got a colon. There is your range of punctuation, which is the next box. Range of punctuation, a minimum of 3. It clearly says on the mark scheme to use a range of sentences. Sentences must have capitals and punctuation. It's the basics. Use basic sentences. Don't feel like you shouldn't use a simple sentence, but use it for effect. And use techniques imaginatively. So your simile start, there you go. It's in your sentence upgrade. Okay, so we've got structuring your planning, VampSap. Okay, year 11, so now it's the time to put it all together. If at this point you want to have a go at doing your own practice, now is the time to pause the video. You might want to go away and use everything that I've shown you in the video so far and write your own piece of descriptive writing. Then you can come back and look at the example I'm about to show and can compare it to mine. Or you can watch the example I'm about to give you and look for where I've used the examples I've shown you, where I've planned my narrative journey through the picture, where I've used VampSap, and where I've used my sentence upgrades. It's up to you at this point where you want to go. Do you want to do your own piece, or do you want to look at my example? After my example, there is another picture that you can also use as a practice. Okay, so what did I write in response to the picture? Out in the harsh Spanish sun, no one was safe. Even the shadows leapt for the security of the shade. In the blaze of the heat, tarmacs sizzled, insects fried, and life was scorched. But in the safety of the shade, there was a bustle. Life went on. Underneath the sprawling canopy dangled ribbons of meat, pyramids of cheese, and arrays of olives. It was a cacophony for the senses. Like bunches of delicate fruits, hams hung from hooks with glistening fats inside. Burnt ambers jostled with oranges and russets, threatening to topple the mountains of splendour for sale. Aromas were intoxicating. Saffron, herbs, paprika, all fought to invade and overtake the nostrils of each prospective buyer. Curiously, a girl noticed the hoofs and trotters, a traditional dish, but one that filled her with horror. Like a nightmare, she felt her stomach clench and throat tighten. Skin, fat, gristle. The image declared war with her culture and morals. The blade in his hands swiped and screeched as he sharpened it, a blade to kill the dead. It was so sharp, so deadly, she could hear the pig's cries. Underneath her mask, her grimace relaxed. The sun singed her back as the shade retreated. Olive leaves danced on the canopy above, beating their own tune to the sun. Slowly, briefly, like a mirage, a delicate breeze flashed through the trees. Life will go on. Okay, so what you could do is you could look for, where have I used any of those techniques? I will not have used every single one. I will not have used everything on my plan. It was just a plan. Okay, and then what you can do is you can look at the next slide with the image and have a go at your own writing. So here's the image. Produce a piece of descriptive writing based on this image. Image also by Mr. Richard Sunderland. Well done. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was really useful. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, and there's also a link to another video here. I hope they're really useful. Good luck for your mock exams. Stay safe and we'll see you soon.